Opened our word for today, taken from our gospel reading from the Gospel of Mark, chapter 7. And people brought to Jesus, a deaf man who had a speech impediment, and begged him to lay his hand on him. He took him off by himself away from the crowd. He put his finger into the man's ears, and spitting, touched his tongue. Then he looked up to heaven and groaned and said to him, "Be opened." And immediately the man's ears were opened. Well, let's break this down. First, the man had a speech impediment. Well, we all have a speech impediment. Let's be clear. None of us know how to speak with clarity. We all have something in the way of speaking the way that the Lord God wants us to speak, with absolute clarity, without letting our biases get in the way, without letting our own agendas getting in the way. Hey, brothers and sisters, let me tell you, that's a speech impediment. I let things get in the way of what the Lord God wants me to say. They put stumbling blocks in the way of the things that the Lord God wants me to say, that others might be made free, that they might be able to hear his word in a way that they can receive it, so that they can bring in authentic conviction and so that they can be freed from their sin. Instead, I have an impediment that disallows me from being able to do that. And the Lord God first wants to make me free of that impediment. He wants to make me free of that speech impediment so that I could be made free, that I might be able to proclaim that good news to them. So he has a private conversation with me. In my conversation with him, away from everyone else, he took him away by himself, it says, away from the crowd. Then he put his finger into the man's ears and spitting. Why did he use spittle? He could have done it 1,000 other ways, right? He could have done it a million other ways. Why did he use something as simple as his own spittle? Why did he do it? Well, because it was perfect. Why do I say it was perfect? Because it was Jesus, and he didn't do anything that wasn't perfect. So obviously, he used the most base human material in order to make that man free and to heal him. So he put his finger into the man's ears, and spitting, he touched his tongue. Then he looked up to heaven and he said, "Be opened. Let the man's mouth be opened. Remove this speech impediment from this man. Let him speak with clarity." And immediately the man's ears were opened. And because his ears were opened, because he could hear with clarity, now he could speak with clarity. Again, the two things working together, and they work perfectly together in me. It is the things that I have allowed into my ears, the things that I have believed, those things that I've allowed to um, to set a barrier between me and the hearing of the gospel, that have created an impediment in me, and a barrier for me to be able to speak forward clearly the gospel. So first, I have to be able to hear clearly so that I can speak clearly. My speech impediment is because my inability to hear clearly. So once that inability to hear clearly is removed, now my speech impediment is removed as well. Brothers and sisters, we must have ears that hear. We must have hearts that perceive. We must have eyes that are open to see what is in front of us. And we must be willing to remove everything that is not a part of the authentic proclamation of the gospel, that is not a part of the authentic relationship with God, that is not a part of the authentic teachings of the church that Jesus himself established on Peter and made the promise to. Opened our word for today.